Rutland waters. Oh, the lovely, brisk England afternoon. Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 38. Doesn't matter where you are, you can always read about the Lord.
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text 38. The controlling deities.
38 or 37?
No, it's 38.
Okay.
No,
it wouldn't be, would it?
38.
37, because we would have finished with the purport, no?
You're correct. 37.
She hates it when I'm correct.
O gentle one, of all the physical elements beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Remember we were talking about the glance of the Lord.
I do. Text 38. The controlling deities of all the above-mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels. Because they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties and were unable to perform them, they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord as follows. Purport. The conception of various controlling deities who inhabit the higher planetary systems for the management of universal affairs is not imaginary, as proposed by persons with a poor fund of knowledge. The demigods are expanded parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they are embodied by time, eternal and external energy, and partial consciousness of the Supreme. Human beings, animals, birds, etc. are also parts and parcels of the Lord and have different material bodies. But they are not the controlling deities of material affairs. They are rather controlled by such demigods. Such control is not superfluous. It is as necessary as the controlling departments in the affairs of a modern state. The demigods should not be despised by the controlled living beings. They are all great devotees of the Lord, entrusted to execute certain functions of universal affairs. One may be angry with Yamaraj for his thankless task of punishing sinful souls, but Yamaraj is one of the authorized devotees of the Lord, and so are all the other demigods. A devotee of the Lord is never controlled by such deputed demigods who function as assistants of the Lord, but he shows them all respects on account of the responsible positions to which they have been appointed by the Lord. Yes. At the same time, a devotee of the Lord does not foolishly mistake them to be the Supreme Lord. Only foolish persons accept the demigods as being on the same level as Vishnu. Actually, they are all appointed as servants of Vishnu.
So, clarifying the position of the demigods and also the mood we should have towards them, that we're not disrespectful, and we actually offer them respect with an understanding of their position in comparison to Vishnu or Krishna. Anyone who places the Lord and the demigods on the same level is called a Pashandi, or atheist. The demigods are worshipped by persons who are more or less adherents of the processes of Gyan, Yoga, and Karma, i.e. the impersonalists, meditators, and fruitive workers. Excuse me. The devotees, however, worship only the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This worship is not for any material benefit as desired by all the materialists, even up to the salvationists, mystics, and fruitive workers. Devotees worship the Supreme Lord to attain unalloyed devotion to the Lord. The Lord, however, is not worshipped by others who have no program for attaining love of God, which is the essential aim of human life. Persons averse to a loving relationship with God are more or less condemned by their own actions.
The Lord is equal to every living entity, just like the flowing Ganges. The Ganges water is meant for the purification of everyone, yet the trees on the banks of the Ganges have different values. A mango tree on the bank of the Ganges drinks the water, and the nimba tree also drinks the same water. But the fruits of both trees are different. One is celestially sweet and the other is hellishly bitter. The condemned bitterness of the nimba is due to its own past work. Just as the sweetness of the mango is also due to its own karma. Interesting. The Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita 16.19, Tan aham dvisata kruran samsaresu naradanam kasipami ajastram asuban asuris eva yo nisu. The envious, the mischievous, the lowest of mankind, those do I ever put back into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. And demigods like Yamaraj and other controllers are there for the unwanted conditioned souls who always engage in threatening the tranquility of the kingdom of God. Since all the demigods are confidential devotee servants of the Lord, they are never to be condemned.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking that point about the karma of the nimba tree as opposed to the karma of the mango tree, because we were making that point some time back. Remember, we were in the Pujari department, I was saying that this Corella must have some, pretty bad karma to be a Corella. It looks ugly, unfortunately, and sometimes when you cut it, it can be ugly inside if it comes out like red seeds, but it definitely tastes ugly. I mean, you can make it nice, compared to like the humble potato, which is my favourite vegetable. Make chips out of it and mashed potato and pakoras.
This isn't a cooking show, is it?
Why not? So yeah, it's interesting though. I thought that. I know.
This makes you wonder though how did nimba tree, the soul in a nimba tree, what was its interactions and karmic dealings before it became a nimba tree? Because obviously, I mean, if we look at the ideal or idea explanation that, to become into plant life, you would have been in fish life before. So what was your activities in aquatic life before you came into plant life? And
unless it was the other way around.
Like
they were
backwards.
Yeah, because they do say like if you're like exhibitionist, showing your body, going naked, doing illicit stuff, then you can stand naked as a tree. I mean, I've heard Prabhupada say like that. And then what tree though, Yeah,
of course there's that. I guess it's just understanding the karmic activity that's required. Either way, still, once they're in the body of a tree, they need to move forward. So how do they engage in activity that moves them forward to progress? I'm sure the Bhagavatam will answer all these questions as we progress.
Let's not dwell too much because we don't want to go back there really.
No. Okay, text 39. Goodness gracious. The demigod said, "O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence."
Like the elements.
Feels like a hurricane is about to blow up on us.
Tsunami.
All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. There are many sages and saints who engage in trying to conquer rebirth and all other material miseries. But of all of them, those who take shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord can completely throw off all such miseries without difficulties. Others who are engaged in transcendental activities in different ways cannot do so. For them it is very difficult. They may artificially think of becoming liberated without accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, but that is not possible. One is sure to fall again to material existence from such false liberation, even though one may have undergone severe penances and austerities. This is the opinion of the demigods, who are not only well versed in Vedic knowledge, but are also seers of the past, present, and future. The opinions of the demigods are valuable because the demigods are authorized to hold positions in the affairs of universal management. They are appointed by the Lord as his confidential servants. So the verse is talking about how really only by the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which is like an umbrella against the material miseries, can we find success. And then in purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how, again, the position of the demigods, and how they know past, present, and future is also there. And the demigods, they all agree, and the great sages, that basically your lotus feet are the best place to be. So, like that, we should take shelter of the lotus feet as well.
Text 40. O Father, O Lord, O Personality of Godhead, the living entities in the material world can never have any happiness, because they are overwhelmed by the three kinds of miseries. Therefore they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also take thus shelter of them. Purport. The path of devotional service is neither sentimental nor mundane. It is the path of reality by which the living entity can attain the transcendental happiness or being freed from the three kinds of material miseries. Miseries arising from the body and mind, miseries from other living entities, and from natural disturbances like this tsunami hurricane. Lord! Everyone who is conditioned by material existence, whether he be a man or beast or demigod or bird, must suffer from adhyatmika, bodily or mental pains, adhibautika pains, those offered by living entities, and adhidaivika pains, those due to supernatural disturbances. His happiness is nothing but a hard struggle to get free from the miseries of conditional life. But there is only one way he can be rescued, and that is by accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, so the threefold miseries are being explained and described here.
Yeah, which are unavoidable.
Adhyatmic distress coming from the body, like whenever it's cold like this, I always have so much phlegm. Adhibautic, other people giving you grief. And adhidaivic, which is that nature hardly ever works the way we want it to, and there's always some suffering and challenge. So such an important fact, just to understand and accept that in the world there are these three elements which are basically always causing us some level of distress. And if we know that, then we can just understand that that's just the way that it is. Yeah. Instead of thinking, no, I can manipulate and control, why is this happening to me, so many things.
Or just stall at that point and deal with that. You're not supposed to, because that is there. Do you understand? People just stall and they don't progress beyond that. That's a fact. Just as if you've got a human body, you're gonna
get stuck.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The argument that unless one has proper knowledge, one cannot be freed from material miseries is undoubtedly true. But because the lotus feet of the Lord are full of transcendental knowledge, acceptance of his lotus feet completes that necessity. We have already discussed this point in the first canto, 1-7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Gyanam Chayad Ahoitukam. There is no want of knowledge in the devotional service of Vasudev, the personality of Godhead. He, the Lord, personally takes charge of dissipating the darkness of ignorance from the heart of a devotee. He confirms this in Bhagavad-Gita 10:10, one of the seed verses. Tesham sarata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvikam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Empiric philosophical speculation cannot give one relief from the threefold miseries of material existence. Simply to endeavor for knowledge without devoting oneself to the Lord is a waste of valuable time. So basically, just to look for knowledge isn't really going to solve the problem. The Lord will give knowledge if we offer devotion to him, which is Tesham Sadata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pradipurvikam. But just to try to cultivate knowledge for the sake of having knowledge, if you don't act on it and you don't, it doesn't bring you to the point of surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, is basically more or less useless.
Text 41. The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best of rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions.
So we should consider this the Ganges. It seems while we're reading today, we keep hearing the Ganges. So
Well, it all leads to the same, no?
yeah, Ganga Maki Jai. Well, I mean,
So, yeah. It is all.
consciousness is about the consciousness.
Yeah.
Purport.
The Paramahamsas are compared to royal swans. There was a swan here actually.
Yeah, there was.
It's gone home.
Yeah.
Who make their nests on the petals of the lotus flower. The Lord's transcendental bodily parts are always compared to the lotus flower because in the material world, the lotus flower is the last word in beauty. The most beautiful thing in the world is the Vedas or Bhagavad-Gita because therein knowledge is imparted by the personality of Godhead himself. The Paramahamsa makes his nest in the lotus-like face of the Lord and always seeks shelter at his lotus feet, which are reached by the wings of Vedic wisdom. Since the Lord is the original source of all emanations, intelligent persons enlightened by Vedic knowledge seek the shelter of the Lord, just as birds who leave the nest again search out the nest to take complete rest. All Vedic knowledge is meant for understanding the Supreme Lord, as stated by the Lord in Bhagavad-Gita 15:15. Veda cha sarve aham eva Vedya. Intelligent persons who are like swans take shelter of the Lord by all means. They do not hover on the mental plane by fruitlessly speculating on different philosophies.
The Lord is so kind that he has spread the river Ganges throughout the universe, so that by taking bath in that holy river, one can get release from the reactions of sins, which occur at every step. There are many rivers in the world which are able to evoke one's sense of God consciousness simply while one's bathing in them, and the river Ganges is chief amongst them. In India there are 5 sacred rivers, but the Ganges is the most sacred. The river Ganges and the Bhagavad-Gita are chief sources of transcendental happiness for mankind. And intelligent persons can take shelter of them to go back home, back to Godhead. Even Sripad Shankaracharya recommends that a little knowledge in Bhagavad-Gita and the drinking of a little quantity of Ganges water can save one from the punishment of Yamaraj.
Shush.
So I think 17 minutes.
Yeah.
One more, or do you want to?
We can stop there before we get swept away into the Ganges behind us.
Okay, so thank you all very much for
Thank
tuning
you.
in. It's also starting to rain a little bit.
Yeah.
We got a long walk back to the car. So.
Yes.
All right, see
Thank
you all.
you,
Thank
everyone.
You
Take care.
Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai. Why don't you say bye as you're walking up? Practicality in Krishna service. Haribol.